Hey everybody, it's Zazu Siosi, physical therapist, here with your movement minute for today. So today I just wanted to hop on and talk a little bit about movement and exercise and kind of pose the question, is there any inherently bad exercise? Is there something that you should never do, no matter what the circumstance? Is there any inherently bad movement? Is there a way that you should never move your body? So, a lot of the answers to that question, specifically about moving your body, kind of depends on what your goal is. And the same deal for exercise. It depends what you're trying to get out of what you're doing. So I bring up a concept that I really like and that I talk a lot about with my clients, that is something as simple as just training for life. So a lot of times we've been told that you should do everything with your legs and don't do anything with your back. Don't lift heavy objects with your back. Use your legs because your back might get injured if not. But what I would say is that there are plenty of people, and I have seen them in the clinic, that lift and have very strenuous jobs or hobbies, and they lift all sorts of funky ways. But they are doing okay regarding their back. So there are more reasons for back pain, and I'm just taking the back because I see it so often, and it's so prevalent in our society that, over 50% of people are going to have some sort of back pain episode in their lifetime. But there are people who have very strenuous jobs that have to lift very heavy things very frequently throughout the day, that are extremely strong and resilient. And you kind of question, well, how is that possible if all I've ever been told is that I need to make sure that I bend my knees every time I lift something or I'm going to hurt my back? Well, if you're not used to using your back muscles in, any specific ways, just like any other movement that you're learning to do for the first time or that you're not very competent at, it's going to be a struggle and there is potential for you to injure yourself. But if you use that movement, for example, bending over to pick something up versus bending at the knees before you do it, if you start with that movement unloaded and you get comfortable at being able to do that, then you start to load yourself up gradually with weight, your body will adapt to being able to use those muscles in that way. And a example that I like to use specifically is a deadlift. So that is basically a hip hinge, right? So that means that you are keeping your shins fairly vertical with the ground and you are really bending at the hips, sticking your butt back to be able to place your hands, get set, and then lift the weight. So if that is an exercise that you enjoy doing, that you like doing, well, guess what? You are lifting with your back or, and also other muscle groups. But you're lifting in a way that we get told all the time is inherently bad for us. Basically, unless you have some sort of surgical fusion or surgical procedure done where you no longer can move joints the way that they're supposed to move because those joints are literally fused together, then there are going to be things that you can't do the same anymore because you've lost a component of the system. As well as with some other surgeries, there's always restrictions, that are usually put on you afterwards, and they can either be for a short amount of time or they can be lifelong, depending on what type of surgery that you got. But to say that for the general public that there's a specific exercise or there's a specific movement that is inherently bad is not true. The only movements that, have higher risk for you to get injury are the ones that you don't train for. So if you don't do a lot of bending down to lift things off of the ground, using your hips to hinge, and you're always bending down through the knees or kneeling down, well, then when you go to do a hip hinge and you go to using a, more of a flat back to bend down and pick something up and not necessarily bend your knees as much, it's gonna feel different. And depending on the circumstance, how fast you do it, how heavy it is, whatever it is that you're lifting up, you might hurt yourself. But it's not because that exercise or that movement is inherently bad. It's because your body wasn't prepared to do it. It's because your body wasn't trained in that capacity. But if you do things like train for life and you move your body in all the ways, whether it looks funky or different or not, you're building resilience within your body so that when something kind of unexpected happens, like your dog gets out or your kid is, going towards the stairs, your toddler's, going towards the stairs, and you have to make a quick decision to be able to make sure that nobody gets hurt. If you train for life and you train in all sorts of different movement patterns, your body has some capacity there to take from. Versus if you only do things in a certain way for the majority of your movement patterns, well then there's a higher risk for you hurting yourself with something or a movement or an exercise that really isn't that quote unquote hard. So the takeaway here is that there are no inherently good or bad exercises or movements. There are only exercises and movements that you are unprepared for. And the goal is to be able to have enough movement variability and movement capacity within your body that you're ready for anything. And that's not to say that injuries don't happen, right? Car accidents happen, and a lot of times we can't control that. And trips and falls happen. We can't control that a lot of the times. We don't see those coming. But for, everyday movements that you do frequently, like bend down and pick something off the ground or lift your groceries up, or if you, exercise every day, and you are doing specific movements, it's good to be able to do things in different ways. And it's important for your resiliency as a person and your physical capacity to be able to do things in different ways and in ways that may seem odd or funky to you, because life is odd and life is funky. You never know what's coming around the next corner, and you really just have to be ready for it. But the good thing is that you can get ready for it by doing everything that you normally do, just getting a little bit more creative in how you do it and switching it up every now and then. So that was your Movement Minute. Let me know what you guys think, and catch you next time.